The Enchanted Waters of Mama Dlo. The sun dipped low over the lush green hills of Trinidad, casting an orange glow over the island. The warmth of the setting sun seemed to embrace the hills, and the distant calls of parrots and other forest animals echoed through the air, adding life to the approaching evening. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and jasmine, and a gentle breeze carried the whisper of the nearby river, mingling with the soft rustle of leaves swaying in the wind. Deep within the forest where the road ended and the wild woods began, two figures moved cautiously, Maya and her younger brother, Kieran. Maya had always heard the stories of Mama Dlo, the mystical water spirit who guarded the rivers and lakes of the forest. Her mother used to warn her and Kieran about the spirit, her voice stern but her eyes twinkling with the mischief of old tales. "Stay away from the deep waters after sundown, children. That's when Mama Dlo roams. She's beautiful, yes, but dangerous. She protects her waters, and those who cross her must pay the price." Maya rolled her eyes at the memory, shaking her head as she trudged through the undergrowth. She glanced at Kieran, who walked beside her, his wide eyes scanning their surroundings. He clutched a small flashlight, the weak beam of light bouncing off the leaves. "Are you scared?" Maya asked, raising an eyebrow. Kieran swallowed hard, glancing at his sister. "Of course not," he said, though his voice quivered. "Of course not. It's just a story, isn't it? Mama Dlo's, she's not real." Maya gave a half smile, ruffling his hair. "That's right, just a story. But remember, we're here for a reason. We have to get that herb for Mama. The fever isn't getting any better." Their mother had fallen ill a week ago. They had tried everything, medicine, prayers, herbs they found in the village, but nothing worked. Then, old Miss Claudine, their neighbor, had whispered about a remedy. Deep in the forest, where the river bends and the water glows under moonlight, there grows a herb called Serpent's Kiss. Only there can it be found, but beware, for that's Mama Dlo's domain. And so they had set out at dusk, the determination to help their mother outweighing any fear they had of folklore or spirits. The sky grew darker, and the forest seemed to close in around them, the trees thick and tangled. The gurgling of the river grew louder, accompanied by the occasional croak of a frog, and soon they found themselves at the water's edge, the cool air from the river caressing their skin. The river shone silver in the moonlight, the surface smooth and unbroken, reflecting the sky above like a shimmering mirror. The air around them felt heavier, almost pressing down on their shoulders. A chill settled in the space, as though the warmth of the day had been swallowed by an unseen force. The soft glow of the moon seemed to add a sense of magic to the tranquil scene. "There," Maya whispered, pointing to a patch of glowing green leaves at the water's edge. Kieran's eyes widened as he spotted the herb, its luminescent glow casting eerie shadows around them. "We should hurry," Kieran said, his voice barely audible above the rustle of leaves. "Let's just take it and leave." Maya nodded, crouching down to reach for the herb. As her fingers brushed the leaves, the river rippled, the once calm surface disturbed by something beneath. Kieran's flashlight flickered, and he gasped, stepping closer to his sister. "Maya, look." The river began to glow, a soft, ethereal light spreading across its surface. The water swirled, the temperature around them dropping noticeably, and from the depths, a figure began to rise. It was as though the forest itself held its breath, the usual night sounds silenced by an unseen presence. The air grew thick, making it difficult to draw a full breath. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she saw her, a woman. her long, dark hair flowing around her like water, her eyes glowing a deep, unsettling green. Her lower half was that of an anaconda, scales shimmering in the moonlight. "Mama Dlo," Maya whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. The spirit's gaze locked on them, her eyes narrowing. "Who dares disturb my waters?" Her voice was melodic, yet laced with danger, echoing through the air like the river's whispered secrets. The temperature continued to drop, and the air felt almost damp, as though it clung to their skin. The forest seemed to hold its breath, an eerie quiet that made every movement feel amplified, as if the spirits of the woods were watching. Kieran's hand trembled as he grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her back. "We're sorry," he stammered, his eyes wide with fear. We just need the herb for our mother. She's sick." Mama Dlo's eyes flickered, her gaze softening slightly as she studied the two siblings. She moved closer, her serpentine body gliding effortlessly through the water. "You seek the serpent's kiss? You know not the power you meddle with, children." Maya swallowed, her voice shaking. "Please. Our mother, she's very ill." Maya swallowed hard, feeling her throat tighten. "We've tried everything else. We only need a little." Mama Dlo watched them for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed, the sound like the rush of the river. "The serpent's kiss is no mere herb, child. It comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Maya hesitated, glancing at Kieran. His eyes were filled with fear, but he nodded, his jaw set with determination. Maya took a deep breath, her mind racing. "If this is the only way, I can't hesitate. Mama needs me, and I can't let Kieran see my fear." She turned back to Mama Dlo, her voice steady. "We'll do anything." She hesitated, the words heavy with doubt. "Just, please, help us save her." Mama Dlo's lips curved into a faint smile, a sadness flickering in her eyes. "Bravery is rare, but foolishness often walks hand in hand with it." She reached out, her fingers brushing against Maya's forehead, and immediately a sharp cold pierced through her skin, spreading through her body. It felt like the warmth of her soul was being drained, the once familiar forest around her warping and twisting. The air grew denser, the weight of an ancient power pressing down on her chest, making her vision blur as the world tilted unnaturally. "For the herb, you must share its burden," Mama Dlo whispered. "To save a life, you must give a piece of your own." Maya gasped, her knees buckling as pain shot through her. For a moment, she felt her strength slipping away, fear clawing at the edges of her mind. "This is for Mama," she reminded herself, clenching her jaw. Kieran cried out, catching her before she fell. The river glowed brighter, and the herb seemed to pulse with light. Mama Dlo's voice echoed around them, her words wrapping around Maya like a vice. "The waters will remember you, child. When the moon is full and the river calls, you must return. This is the price you pay." Maya's vision cleared, the pain slowly fading. She looked down at the herb, now resting in her trembling hands. She turned to Mama Dlo, her eyes filled with gratitude and fear. "Thank you," she whispered. Mama Dlo nodded, her form beginning to fade back into the river. "Remember, child, the waters never forget." And with that, she was gone, the river returning to its calm, silvery state. Kieran helped Maya to her feet, his face pale. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice shaking. Maya nodded, though her body still ached, her mind reeling from what had just happened. Fear and determination swirled within her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a line that should never be crossed. "I have to stay strong," she thought, for Mama, for Kieran. "We have what we need. Let's go." They turned and made their way back through the forest. The herb clutched tightly in Maya's hand. The journey home seemed longer, the weight of what had happened pressing down on them. Maya's thoughts were a whirlwind, fear, exhaustion, and a lingering sense of uncertainty. What have I gotten us into? She wondered, the promise she made to Mama Dlo echoing ominously in her mind. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs made Kieran jump, his eyes darting around nervously. The moon hung high above them, casting an eerie glow on the path ahead. "Do you think she'll really call you back?" Kieran asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maya hesitated, her gaze fixed on the forest around them. Fear gripped her heart, but she pushed it aside, thinking of her mother lying sick in bed. "If I have to face her again, I will," she told herself. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if she does, I'll go. We had no choice, Kieran. Mama needed us." Kieran nodded, though the fear in his eyes remained. I don't want anything to happen to you." Maya squeezed his shoulder gently. "Nothing will happen. We'll deal with it when the time comes." She forced a smile, though deep down the fear of Mama Dlo's words lingered. The forest felt alive, as if it was watching them, the shadows shifting with every step they took, and the sound of crickets and distant animal calls filled the night, heightening the sense that they were not alone. They reached their small house just as dawn began to break, the sky painted in hues of pink and gold. Miss Claudine was waiting for them, her eyes widening as she saw the herb. "You found it," she whispered, taking it from Maya's hands. "Your mother will be all right now." Maya nodded, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. "But there's a price," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Miss Claudine's eyes softened, a knowing look crossing her face. "Mama Dlo never gives without taking, child. But you did well. You saved your mother." Maya glanced at Kieran, his eyes filled with worry. She forced a smile, nodding. "That's all that matters." Miss Claudine led them inside, where their mother lay on a small cot, her face pale and drenched in sweat. The herb was crushed, mixed with other ingredients, and made into a paste that Miss Claudine applied to their mother's forehead. Slowly, their mother's breathing steadied, her face relaxing as the fever began to break. Kieran watched with wide eyes, hope flickering across his face. "She's getting better," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. Maya sank down onto the floor, her body heavy with exhaustion. She watched as her mother's color slowly returned, relief washing over her. Tears filled her eyes, and she reached for Kieran's hand, squeezing it tightly. They shared a silent moment, both knowing the journey they had taken and the sacrifices they had made. The weight of Mama Dlo's promise still lingered, but for now, their mother was safe, and that was all that mattered. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window, Maya closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of peace. They had faced the unknown, and though the future was uncertain, they would face it together. And in that unity, there was strength. Like, share, and subscribe.